Welcome to the Hallberg-Rassy 40C movie. Join us for sailing, in-depth interior and deck tour. Welcome to the interior tour of the Hallberg-Rassy 40C. Today we will take you through everything on board the 40C, from the bow to the stern, engine room, galley. So here I am in the easy chairs in the 40C. So easy chairs is option, but you can also opt for a straight sofa if you prefer. In between the easy chairs you have soft stopping drawers, you have a nice place to have crystal glasses if you want. In this boat here we have the timber in European oak. It's a very popular option. Kaya mahogany is still the standard timber we offer. And it feels very welcoming. It's open because the hull stiffener goes all the way up to deck. So that has made it possible for us to remove the bulkheads that we used to have here. So it is completely open between the navigation work table area and the galley area. And if you have guests on board and you are working in the galley, you have contact with everybody on board. So it's a nice place to spend time. This is the L sofa. You have the foldable big fixed table in the middle here. You can lift the backrest if you want a wide berth, if you want to sleep here when you're in the marina. If you want to use it as a sea berth, you mount the lee claws on this side. Again, it's a great place to sleep here in the center of the boat. You can opt for a retractable TV on this side or on that side. If you don't opt for the retractable TV, you simply use it as a top-loaded storage. And when I sit here, I have a fantastic view through the port lights in the hull. And if I stand up, I have a very nice view through the tempered frameless windows in the superstructure. So as always now on the new Hallberg-Rass, it's very, very bright. You have a lot of natural light, 2 skylights, big frameless port lights there, this nice indirect lighting. Storage. Shoebox is here. Ventilated, of course. And as always, the sole is in one level throughout the boat, so it's easy to move also when the boat moves. The carpet is option. If you just want the sole board in solid wood, you can go with that, that's standard, but you can opt for the carpet. And the carpet is great for anti-slip, but it's also noise cancelling. As always, you have this milled out fiddles in the galley. It looks good, but it's also a very nice handle if you're out sailing. This is the enormous galley. It means it stretches further aft. And we can achieve this because we have turned the engine 180 degrees. So we have moved the genset, if you opt for that, from this area. Instead, it's mounted in front of the engine. And this makes it possible to have so much surface and area. And you have a day fridge here. You have a chopping board. You have a dishwasher if you want, microwave, top-loaded fridge, and a top-loaded freezer behind the navigation seat. It's a double thermostat on that one, so you can use it both as a freezer and a refrigerator. Nice top-loaded storage here. So it comes standard with the dividers for forks and knives and soft stopping. Another great spot on board. We used to call this navigation table, but nowadays I prefer to call it a work table because it's simply a place where it's nice to work, sit with your computer. And again here you have these milled out fiddles. They do look good, but they also fills a very important function. And as you can see, it ends here. So when you sit here working with the computer, it's free here. You can open, again, invisible hinges. Outlet, 230 volt, 12 volt, switch for lights, heater, stereo. You have speaker both inside and outside. You can also open here. Everything is labeled, so you can find each cable in the technical drawing. This is the electrical panel, so here you can see the status of the inverter, how much percent you have in the service battery. So right now we are at 96%. This is the switchboard. So you have water and fuel, and you can see you have 3 water tanks and 2 fuel tanks, and you can see the level in each tank. Instruments is the speed, depth, wind above the sliding hatch, VHF. MFD is multifunction display, so it's the plotter. AIS, it's a transponder, both receiving and sending out your position. Autopilot. Tank meter is here. Engine fan. You have a fan in the engine room. Freshwater pump. Fuel transfer pump. You have 2 fuel tanks, 1 main tank and one spare. So what you do is that you transfer fuel from the spare to the main tank. And you can also control the anchor light. Plus a third bilge pump. You have a manual bilge pump as standard. You have a big, very powerful emergency bilge pump that you start at the pedestal outside. And you have a smaller electrical pump that you can set for auto. So if any water finds its way into the bilge, it automatically starts, or you can also run it manually. Behind me here, you have the top-loaded freezer. It's a double thermostat, so it also works as a refrigerator if you prefer. We have full headroom in the walkthrough here because we use the width of the boat and we use the room in the coaming as headroom. So it's very roomy in the walkthrough here. This is great. A well-ventilated locker for foul weather gear. It's well ventilated, but it's also drained. So if water drains from the clothes you have here, it drains out from the locker. Behind this one, we have the electrical panel. Everything is marked. Dishwasher FO3 is here. And same with the lower part here. Up here is 230 volts and below is 12 volts. Just as an example, stereo is 104. So everything is well labeled and easy to find. Welcome to the owner's cabin of the Hallberg-Rassy 40C. It's very roomy back here. You have a lot of natural light, port lights in the hull, skylights and full headroom. It's impressive how much storage you have. You have a locker here, hanging locker. You have storage under the sofa. You can actually lift up the seating cushions here. Shelves here, storage here, plus all the storage you have under here on both sides, plus the small makeup table or working table on the starboard side. This is the centerline berth. If you want to have two separate berths, that's also possible. Then we make one single berth on that side and another one on this side, and you have a small seating area in between the berths. So you can opt for that as well if you prefer. You have an additional service point here into the engine room, and of course outlet for the heater. This is the V cabin in the 40C. This is the standard layout, so it's a very generous traditional V berth with shelves, a lot of storage, a skylight with mosquito net and blackout, and those lovely port lights here in the hull, so you have contact with the outside, so you know what is happening. You have a nice seat here, locker, and a lot of storage under here. If you prefer to have a centerline berth also in the forward part of the 40C, we can actually build the 40C in a similar way as we build the 400. So instead of have this large head compartment, we make it slightly smaller, exactly the same as on 400 with a centerline berth. So you can opt for that as well if you want, but this is the standard layout. And as always, it's good ventilation in the lockers. You have small lines, you can lift up, open up the cushions here to reach the storage. You have built-in end stoppers, so the doors don't hit the front here when you open them. And you have hinges that you can't see, they are hidden. So a very nice VIP guest cabin, or if you prefer to have it as an owner's cabin. So to reach the storage, you simply open like that. So what you can see here is the battery box, the bow thruster, and a nice storage. Here under the V-berth, behind the bow thruster, you have a watertight bulkhead. As this extends above the waterline, it works both as a collision bulkhead or a watertight bulkhead. It's a very nice safety feature. And as you can see, it's mounted behind the bow thruster if something would happen with that. Moving aft out of the V cabin into this passage here, you have two lockers, one hanging locker and one with shelves and fiddles, good ventilation, curtains, a port light that you can open, another skylight that you can open, and additional ventilation via air only. You have outlet for the heater here. And another nice little feature is those hatches here. You have storage, also hatches if you need to reach something. So what you have here is the deck hatch drain. You have the water coming into the toilet and the water for the deck wash pump to clean the chain. The filters mounted here. And you also have a tool here, so it's easy to open. Everything is marked up and named, so easy to reach. And the through hulls is directly here, so you can exercise them if necessary. So into the generous head. So here you have a separate shower. If you want to take a shower inside, you have a plexiglass door here that divides the shower part of the head. Lock it in position. You have water here, the thermostat, and the drain pump. And if you want to have a washing machine on board, you can opt for that if you have this standard large head in the 40C. In the heads compartments, you always have milk-colored glass in the port lights and in the skylight, plus additional ventilation. So as always, very good ventilation. You have a composite stone top here. Nice storage both here and below. And you can opt for an electrical toilet if you want, or you can go with a traditional hand pump. Here we are in the very generous engine room in the 40C. And as I mentioned earlier, we have turned the engine 180 degrees. So that made it possible to move the engine backwards. And if you want to opt for a diesel generator or a genset, the genset will be where I am sitting now. So in front of the engine. Because of this, we have been able to make the enormous galley, because we can use the area on that side. The diesel generator used to be mounted there, but instead it will be here. So that gives a lot of extra volume inside the boat. So the engine room is very big. We can mount all the technical equipment in one place. It's easy to service. You can walk in, as I did now, from the stairs, or you can walk in via the big door from the aft cabin. So what you have here is a fuel filter. You have the additional bilge pump is mounted here. The control box for the electrical lever for the engine. The seawater filter for the engine. And everything is easy to reach. Hot water tank, silencer, automatic fire extinguisher, and the Cardan link steering comes down here as well. The engine is a Volvo Penta D260, so it means 60 horsepower, 4-cylinder. As an example, if you run the engine 1400 RPM, you do approximately 5.3 knots through the water. So that gives a theoretical range of a little bit above 1,200 nautical miles. So the fuel economy is impressive. So what you have here is the big drain coming from the cockpit and the very nice Hallberg-Rassy feature with this manual drain pump. So you can choose here main tank, spare tank. So this pump here, hand pump, goes to the lowest point in each fuel tank to pump out small samples. The transfer pump is mounted here as well, plus the freshwater pump. So everything is very easy to service. To change the water pump, if that is necessary, is super easy because it's right here. Welcome to the deck tour of the Hallberg-Rassy 40C. And we find a well-protected anchorage just the east side of Hermanö, which is an island outside of Orust. I will take you guys through the deck of the Hallberg-Rassy 40C. 40C might be the coziest 40-footer on the market. And you can see here on the stern of the boat, we have a wide, generous aft deck. The aft cabin goes all the way back to the stern here. So that gives us two big lockers on each side. The deck storage you have on this Hallberg-Rassy 40C is very impressive. You have two big ones here for fender lines. The deck material that we see here is PU teak. You can either opt for PU teak, real teak, or you can opt for just white anti-slip that we have on the superstructure here. You can have that also on deck if you prefer. Behind me here is the swimming platform with a built-in bathing ladder. And it's manual, so you simply pull like this. The antennas that we see here, you have one smaller GPS antenna on that side and a slightly larger one on the starboard side. That's for the Raymarine system. So the small one is for the AIS system and the starboard one is for the GPS for the full plotter system. Standing here in the corner of the boat makes you think, is this boat really only 40 foot? One has to think a little bit different today. You get much more out of 40 feet than you used to. The boat itself is 40 foot, but the water line is also close to 40 foot. So this gives a very generous inner volume, but it also gives hull speed. And as you can see, the width of the boat goes all the way back here. So she is as wide in the middle as she is all the way back here. That's why I also have this very nice aft deck and side deck. Looking forward, as always, it's a clean, uncluttered deck with the outer shroud all the way out close to the hull sides and the inner close to the superstructure. So this makes it possible for an easy passage in between, and also where you sheet the Genoa jib. You have entry gates both sides, nice to have. And you have a fitting here on the tow rail just in front of the push bit. This is the hard point for the block that you use for a light wind sail, like a Genacker or a Code Zero. We can see here 1, 2, 3 deck drains. So if you have seawater or rainwater on deck, it drains through the holes here and come out under the waterline, meaning a clean hull, no dirt strips outside of the hull. Here at the entry gates and at the cleats, you have strips that protects the tow rail. In this case, PU teak, but you can also opt for real teak if you prefer. I want to point out some design features, and one thing is what you can see here. It's the cockpit coaming. We use this cockpit coaming to get full headroom in the passage from the saloon into the aft cabin. It gives a lot of nice feature. It gives headroom inside. It gives a wide coaming to sit on. It's comfortable. This cover here is ventilation to the engine room. The size of the cockpit to be a center cockpit boat is also very impressive. It's actually exact the same size as it is on Hallberg-Rassy 44. So you have a deep, safe cockpit with a very nice seating angle here for your back. The helmsman's position is slightly raised. This gives a good position when you steer the boat because you can see above the spray hood when you stand up, and if you sit down you see through the window. When it's raised, this also gives volume to the aft cabin. Win-win. And you can see here, when I stand here in the cockpit, I have an amazing view. I see the bow, I see the bowsprit, I have a good view of the aft deck. I have a fantastic position here when sailing. You need to change the position when you sail. Sometimes use the autopilot, maybe I sit here, or if it's really rough weather, I will be in the corner, well protected under the spray hood or hardtop. I can stand up. The sides here has an angle, so if the boat heels, I have a good position here. I can be just behind the wheel. It's very good. You can be here for hours or days or weeks. On the pedestal head, you have room for a good-sized plotter, in this case 12-inch. You have all the push-button control for the sails. Genoa is powered, main is powered, and all the winches. The winches can be controlled here, but they can also be controlled by the crew on the coaming here. Compass light, navigation light, engine running light, deck light is controlled here. You have a horn and the emergency bilge pump. Bow and stern thruster, autopilot, fixed remote for the anchor winch, plus a chain counter. You can also start the flushing pump here. The flushing pump is connected to seawater and is used to clean the deck or to clean the chain when you take the anchor up. It's a boat that is easy to single hand. And to get here, we had to beat through quite tight passages, and I did that myself. Full push button sailing if you want. It means I can control her single-handed. And with the bow and stern thruster, you can also moor single-handed. If you want a more traditional old school boat, you can simply opt for a traditional mainsail. It's just what you prefer. Another nice little feature is the steering on the 40C. You can steer her with your fingertips and you feel everything. Absolutely lovely. Washboards on gas springs. You have a cockpit table here that is fixed, that you simply fold up. Another clever design feature that you don't actually see here is that below here, so you have a depth of maybe 40 centimeters. So this is a place where you can keep the life raft. But it also creates like a fake bridge deck. So it's not just the distance here that you have if water would come into the cockpit. You have 40 centimeters of fake bridge deck that goes all the way down. A nice cockpit locker. This boat, we have the enormous galley, and with the enormous galley it goes all the way back here. Then you have a slightly smaller locker. If you prefer a huge cockpit locker here, you can opt for the standard normal sized galley. Also a nice little box here for all the lines. Plus, this is also where the inlet for the shore power is. So it's well protected. As always, you have the windshield and the spray hood on top of the windshield. This is standard on all Hallberg-Rasses. It gives a very nice protection. Now we have folded the spray hood to open up the cockpit. It's a nice option that you can do this. The center window is, as always, possible to open. On all center cockpit boat, and 40C being the smallest, you can opt for hardtop. So the 40C comes with hardtop as well if you prefer this. As always, you have hard points to hold on to. One here at the windscreen, then moving forward, you can go like this. And you see how easy it is for me to go between the scrouts here. You have a fixed point to store the boat hook, optional solar panel, the ventilators that we love from air only with ping pong balls, so completely watertight. You don't even have to close them inside if you're out sailing in rough weather or heavy rain. No water will come in. The mast is powered. As everything else, you have a manual override, so you can just move that black lever, put in a winch handle, and you can furl it manually. The winch on the port side is for the Genoa jib halyard. The main halyard is controlled in the cockpit together with the Coach Zero or spinnaker halyard. Big tempered frameless glass windows in the superstructure. It's possible to open here in the middle. Moving forward, we have the filling points for diesel. And on the 40C you have 2 diesel tanks, 1 main tank, 1 spare tank, and you feed the main tank via transfer pump. Water on this side, water on that side, but you actually have 3 water tanks, and the 2 side tanks under the L sofa and under the sofa or easy chairs, if you opt for that, feeds the main tank. This lid here is for the black water tank, so you can empty it by pump out from deck here. We always mark on the tow rail where the lifting points are on the boats. A beautiful built-in bowsprit where the anchor is mounted and the chain runs through. The 2 stainless fittings on the left side, on the port side, is for the platform for the bow ladder. And this is also where you fly the light wind sails. On this boat you can see that we have 1 point here, just in front of the furlegs. This means that she's equipped with a code 0. If you want a traditional genacker, you fly this all the way out. And the reason for this is that with the code 0, you fly with a 2-to-1 halyard, and you can also point higher. Means you have much higher loads on a code 0 compared with a genacker. So that's why we move the point further back, because it's stronger. Here is the anchor locker. This is where you have the deck wash pump. So you use it like that, can clean the chain. It's divided, so the chain is in the lowest point, and above you have space for, in this case, we keep the bow ladder here and the platform, but you can also have fenders and lines. And the windlass is also mounted under deck here for a clean, uncluttered look.
The 40C pushes the boundaries for what is possible for a 40-foot center cockpit design. We have done some design tricks to enable full headroom in the passage to the owner's cabin aft, and that also gives a high cockpit coaming and a deep cockpit that is long and well sheltered by either a spray hood with canopy or a hardtop Dodger. We have also turned the engine 180 degrees, which allows for more interior space. That gives either an enormous galley or an extra big cockpit locker. The floorboards are in one level from the forward part to the aft part. No steps, no tripping. That is something you find in all current Hallberg-Rassy designs. It's not only the interior that is superior, also the sailing performance and the sailing joy, because the rudder feel is so exact that you feel every wave, every little wind shifts, and that gives sailing joy. This combined with Hallberg-Rassy's push-button-sailing concept makes for a winner among this size center cockpits.
The 40C is a special boat in many ways. It's hard to believe that she's only 40 foot. Straight hull sides together with the plumb bow and the stern that is very wide gives a lot of inner volume. If you prefer a center cockpit or an aft cockpit boat, that's something that you need to decide on your own. What you gain with the center cockpit boat is that you have a very big, welcoming, generous engine room where we can fit all electrical installations in one place. Very easy to service. You can even walk into the engine room. You have a cockpit very well protected in the center of the boat, and you have a nice deck so you can walk around the boat. You have a generous aft deck, and of course the owner's cabin in the back is huge. So the concept of the 40C is a boat with 2 cabins, 1 head. But everything is very generous, so it doesn't feel that you compromise in any way or in any special compartment of the boat. The galley is huge, the aft cabin is huge, you have a proper head with a separate shower, the option to have washing machine, dishwasher. Many things that were not possible on this size of boats before. But now it is. To sail her is, as always, very, very nice. One special thing with the 40C is the feeling at the rudder. It's a single wheel boat, so she's super easy. You feel everything when you're at the helm. So she's a joy to sail, effortless, easy and fun. That in combination with powered in-mast furling, powered furlegs, powered winches, bow and stern thruster makes it very, very easy to single-hander. The sailing we did yesterday, then I sailed the boat single-handed. What I like with the center cockpit boat and the size of this cockpit, when I'm at the helm, I reach both the winches for the Genoa jib, but also for the main sheet. So it means everything is just where I am. So it's easy to sail. I can tack the boat myself. Plus, as on all Hallberg-Rasses, including the 40C, today you have a big mainsail and you have a slightly overlapping jib, so it's easy to tack. You have a clean, uncluttered deck, so you simply tack, release the sheet, move it to the other winch, pull it in manually, push the button, and you're ready to go. You can both sail the boat, control the boat, reef the boat from the helmsman's position. This is a feature that is great to have on a boat, but it also makes boating life much easier because I can go out sail with anyone. You can bring friends that has absolutely no idea about sailing. You can still take them on board, go out. It's easy to leave the dock because you can control the boat with the bow and stern thruster. No stress at all. You can take the sail in and out single-handed, and you can just involve the guests you have exactly at the level they are. It's a way of having a nice, big, comfortable boat. Effortless, it's easy. It's a very, very nice boat. I like the 40C a lot.